Hello, everyone, and welcome to the We Only Do One Take podcast on this fine Thursday. We release it, but it's technically a Tuesday today, so that's good.
We'll try our best.
We do. We do. As always, I've got Mr. Turch with me.
How you doing, Kieran?
Looks like he's shaven recently, so well done.
Yeah, subtly.
Freshly shaven.
I got rid of some of the beard, but I felt like I was still in holiday mode with the long beard, but bit more smart casual work.
I was going to say, I think you've gone back to work because your hair is cut.
I haven't had a haircut yet.
Oh, really?
Just the beard.
Okay.
Look, it shaves years off my life. Wait, years off my face. Is that a thing?
I don't know.
When you look like a baby face kind of thing?
I don't know.
Now I'm watching The Room all over again. This is...
You are tearing me apart,
And
Lisa!
sitting next to me, and this is very special because he's got his own mic. We're not sharing a mic. We're a very professional
This is the
podcast.
first time we've had three mics working at the same time and not had to share anything.
That's right. If we can get a round of applause, please welcome Mr. Mash.
Whoa, yeah. I'm digging that round of applause sound effect. I really appreciate it.
It'll be there.
I'm super excited. I shaved quite recently as well. I shaved the top of my head, and now it's just become a regular thing. It's one of those things where once you go bald, there's no going back.
Yeah.
It doesn't rhyme. It's not as catchy. That's why less people do it. But it's still there. It's still something that's been working for me.
I will have to get there. My hair is thinning. And it's every year it's getting thinner and thinner.
Embrace it.
And I don't want to be my father because my father had like 2 bits of hair where he combed over the front. And
The
it was just
comb over.
like the comb over.
Doing a proper comb over.
And I was
Good
just like,
look.
shave it.
That wasn't a good look in the 50s, and people have still persisted.
Yeah.
I mean,
So if that's me, maybe I'll do it out of spite. I might do it out of spite.
Hey, Dad, guess what? I got the same haircut as you. That's right. If I did that and I said that to my dad, he'd be like, "You're an idiot. I'm going bald, you goddamn idiot."
just a game of hair chicken with your parents.
The real battle of wits. That one.
So, yes. So it must be. Is it good being bald or shaven?
It's pretty incredible. Part of me wants to go that it is low maintenance. That's one of the things that you would immediately assume because there's nothing. You don't have to put any product in, and there's no stress. And yet, every other day, every 3 days or so, I've got to take a razor to my head, and it takes its time. It takes its toll. Sometimes I'm left with some pretty nasty cuts. And if you thought aftershave on your chin and neck was bad, try it on your scalp, which is used to being super sensitive and not copying just about anything.
I gotta ask, do you actually put aftershave on your scalp? Is that something that happens?
I've done it. Yeah, I've done it. And
By
you know what?
accident, or?
No, I did it. Like I had that kind of lotion or whatever that you put on that you meant to, something from the Body Shop. Next week's ad, if you need. I'll get you the name. And so you meant to put that on.
I was just going to say, plug it now. Why not plug it now?
I wish I knew. It's like a maca root thing. Now I sound like I'm on a Joe Rogan show. It comes from the root of some like thing from the Amazon.
Wait, wow.
He's talking about our competition.
It's okay. I don't think.
It's no contest. You guys are easily the better.
I don't
podcast.
think Joe Rogan's at our level yet.
That's right.
Oh. And speaking at our level yet, Kieran, I just want to give you a big congratulations because as of right now, as I'm checking it, you can see my screen when I switch it over, we have had over 205 plays of our podcast, which is double as much as last week.
Well done.
That's amazing.
We have only been up for, what are we, episode 8?
Well, episode 8.
So 2 months now.
Yeah, about 2 months. 200 listens of our...
And from last week, we've doubled.
Yeah,
that's full on.
Who's listening?
We've got 9...
Because I'm not listening anymore. I do it, and then I forget about it.
Well, we have... On SoundCloud, we have 9 followers.
Well, followers is the big one.
Yeah.
Listens could just be the same person.
Yeah, that's
but
right.
Followers takes different people. That's wicked.
9 followers. So 9 people. And in the last 7 days or so, 78 listens.
This is gonna sound really bad considering I'm a person that turns up every week for the podcast. What is the difference? What is a follower?
So a follower's like, you know when you like something on Facebook and it comes up in your feed? So they'll get notifications every time we put up a new episode.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
It's like
so
a
they're
guaranteed.
dedicated.
Yeah, like a subscriber. They're gonna be the first to consume this podcast.
That's right. And we love them with all our heart because they're the ones that are giving us the fuel to continue on with this and make this the best goddamn podcast I've ever listened to. So thank you very much to all our followers.
As soon as we get to 10, I'm starting a Patreon account.
You're starting a Patreon account at 10? So there we
10.
go, people.
It's probably going to take forever to get to 10, but...
Basically, if even half your listeners donated just $1 a month through Patreon, you might be able to get a pot of beer per month. That's pretty
half a
full
pot
on.
each.
Oh my god, we could actually start not buying drinks while we do the show.
Wouldn't that be amazing if we earned just enough a month that we could buy a bottle of scotch a month, and that would be what we do, and we'd actually have a Patreon sponsored scotch.
Oh, we're now we're talking.
Oh,
I'm now dreaming.
so people, get on to SoundCloud. Give us one more follower. The 10th follower will allow us to start our Patreon, or Kieran will do it. I've done everything else. Kieran can start the Patreon.
I've got a witness.
It's going to happen.
Mash is the witness.
That's dangerous now. Now that I've got the witness, you don't.
And my witness is feeding me cheese, which is great.
Is it great, is it?
It is. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw that. All right, I've got a rant, everyone.
Oh, okay.
So, as our 9 followers might know, I work at a university. I won't name the university.
Yep.
Let's just call it. And I had to put in a work request the other day. There was, something needed to be done. Let's just say the floor needed to be vacuumed.
Yep.
I'm not going to blame who spilt crumbs on the floor.
It was you.
Let's not get bogged down with who did what. That's not important. But a work request had to be put in. So I thought, how do you put in a work request? So I googled work.
You Googled it.
I googled it.
Did you call like the front desk? Like you just go,
Yeah.
oh look, admin staff.
Is there no like standard operating procedure?
Yeah.
Surely this Alfred gentleman would have established a fine university wherein they had proper standard procedures for the cleaning up of crumbs.
They took away our phones. I used to have a phone on my desk, and I enjoyed the phone.
Oh, so you couldn't call anyone.
Because I always called IT because I didn't know how to get printing
That's
done.
why they took
Is that why they
off
took it
you.
away?
That's right. They took it off because they're like, oh, this fucker just keeps calling.
I'd call
And
the
then obviously
library. They'd send me books. It was great.
The worst part is that now you don't have a phone with which to lodge a work request, which brings us back to square one. Okay, so
So you were Googling.
So I had to use Dr. Google. And I found this website or whatever, and it said, okay, step 1, lodge a work request. And I was like, okay, I can do that.
Step 1 of how to lodge a work request is lodge a work request.
And it's you know what? I just can't wait to some random company like, just comes along. It's like, hi, we're from the Exterminators. We're here to, you put in a work request. We're just here to help out. Just some random company, I can't wait. It's just going to rock up.
Where's the car that needs washing?
Anyway, I'm employing people. That's what I'm doing. I'm keeping people employed.
And we thank you for it.
So anyway, my rant is that, okay, it was actually quite complicated. It was a 10-step process. Okay. So I had to go to this website, which was institution.edu.au/students. I don't know why it was students, but it was students.
Yep.
/your-campus/facilities-services/work request, which was a problem because I'm staff, so I shouldn't be going through the student section.
See, it's a lot easier to go to soundcloud.com/we only do one take podcast and listen to our podcast. Just putting it out there.
I know, right? I know. Anyway, the point is, it was something like a 10-step process for me to lodge this work request.
And the first thing is admitting you're an alcoholic.
That the fact is, I got to step 3 and I gave up.
Yeah, that's the standard step that everyone gives up at the Alcoholics Anonymous.
Anything worth 12 steps isn't worth doing.
So you submit it to Jesus and you just thought, you saw the fourth step of donate to God, and you thought, that's enough.
Well, then I used common sense.
Yep.
And I thought, I'm being paid.
Yep.
I might as well take lunch, come back, and send some emails.
Terrific. Okay. So
the
I want to
rant-
know.
I want to know what the rant is.
Yeah. What's the rant?
Oh, the point is, it took 10 steps. I couldn't be bothered doing 10 steps. Why do they make things so complicated? Why can't you just put in a work request?
Well, usually universities are part of the federal government, and the government really likes to extend the amount of steps it takes to do anything. So I think you have your answer.
I mean, if there was a vacuum cleaner, I would have just got the vacuum cleaner, right?
Well, there's
do you
no way
have
you
to-
would have vacuumed.
Yeah, that's technically right.
Do you have to lodge a request to use the vacuum though?
Oh,
Is that a
probably.
separate?
Obviously,
probably.
yeah. 10-step program.
And you can't even bring in your own laptop with your power cord because reception will find out and then they'll want to tag and test it.
Yeah, got to tag and test.
Yeah, you got to tag.
It's
and test.
ridiculous.
I mean, you can call it a bureaucratic nightmare all you like, Kieran, but this is not a rant that's new to the world. I mean, especially after the works of Franz Kafka. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
That is a big name that I know nothing about. Please explain.
Franz Kafka, he's a seminal author on the matter of bureaucracy and the tangle of modern society.
Really?
One of his works, The Trial, I think you'd really dig. I played the protagonist in a school play production of The Trial. And it's
we did
incredible.
Grease. You must have gone to a much more upper class fancy school than what we did. Because
It might have been on the other side of the track.
yeah,
It's highly recommended reading. If that's the kind of thing that gets your goat, then I think Franz Kafka is the way to go for you to read.
Okay, all right. Well, the thing is, I don't read.
no.
Is it on? And there's reason to this because I've finished a thesis and I've done a shit ton of reading.
Yep.
I
More-
now find reading so boring that I haven't been able to get into a novel or a book.
And that's why he's never prepared for this podcast.
That's why he stopped at step 3.
Yeah, that's
there was just
right.
too much reading involved. He didn't mind picking up the phone that's not in his office.
Hello. Can you get this done for me? And then someone else's problem. See,
No, people ring me and I get an email which I never check because I've got stacks of emails.
don't
in there.
send this guy an email. We've discussed this before.
Right. And eventually when I go through them, it's like, you have a missed phone call. And I was like, but I don't have a phone. Anyway.
That's pretty good.
That might be a scam. That's a really effective scam, actually. You have a missed phone call. Click here to listen to the voicemail. I mean, I can't imagine who would fall for it, but I can never imagine who'd fall for any of those scams.
Can you do that? Can you set up a scam, but just link it to our podcast? We might get like 50 new listeners of old people going, oh, this is a very long phone call. It's like 14 hours worth of content.
Why do these 3 men want to talk to me?
Ah.
That's not a bad idea, actually. If you you can abuse your power as a staff member at this institution that you're at and just blast an email out to everyone and just click here to select your voice. Your listens will go up. Your followers may not. People may not necessarily enjoy that. But if you're looking for a ratings bump, just temporarily, it's the equivalent of jumping the shark.
The people actually the people in my office will listen to it, and I think they're some of our listeners.
I hope so.
Hopefully one of them is a follower. Everyone else, they're academics. They're boring.
Well, they might understand some of our jokes. They might go, you know what? If those academics are listening to us, which I really hope they are.
Actually, some of them are cool. I've got to.
They're
admit, some
allowed
of
to
them are
borrow any of our jokes that we've said to try and be more personable around the office.
I mean, if that's your target market, I'm more than happy to go through the script of The Trial, the high school production of 2008, for those academics.
That
are
might be a
listening.
bonus episode.
It won't take too long. How long does this thing go for?
cool. I don't know. We'll figure it
just
out.
work it out.
Okay, terrific.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
So 2008, you were year 12.
No, that was year 11.
Year 11.
So that was a year 11 production. But now that I
Okay.
think about it, we did do it in year 12. That was a year of a lot of plays for me.
Yeah, yeah.
I-
And what I took theatre studies, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I took theatre studies as I was like, I don't have to sit behind a desk.
God, I did music and I did do theatre studies.
I'm not musically talented, and music was going to be too hard.
Obviously.
Theatre studies.
There's a lot of reading.
Theatre
It
studies.
actually is. It's a bit scary.
I think I got like a study score of 18.
In theatre studies.
Yeah.
You got to respect theatre studies.
future
I came
doctor.
at it because that's what I wanted to do. In year 10, I was in a school play and I just got hooked. I went, this is what I want. And so year 11, year 12 was all about my theatre studies. Ms. Morgan, if you're listening at some point in the future, shout out to you for fostering a love of performance in this boy.
Because we need to do a plug.
We do need.
We do need to do a plug. Mash is a rapper.
Yeah, he was telling me just before we were having a quick chat before the podcast.
That's right. Tell us a bit about your rap.
Yeah, so basically, ever since I was quite young, I would listen to and try and sing along to anything I listened to. And then one day encountered the likes of Linkin Park, actually. And Mike Shinoda, the Japanese-American rapper in Linkin Park, was basically my first rap influence. And I kind of thought, here we go. This is great. This is fun to sing along to because I could never hit the notes that, other singers could. And then they did their collaboration album with Jay-Z, which
I have that problem too.
Right? Tone deafness. It's just there.
More a music appreciator than, musician, but,
Yeah.
that's
You're voyeuristic with it. I can appreciate
I'm
that.
just a guitarist.
Shut up, Turch. It's not about you. It's about Mash.
And it's just something I've kept up with over the years. And it's been a fun little party trick. I can bust out Kanye's Gold Digger half in my sleep if I want to.
Can you do it now?
Now I'm saying she a gold digger. I can.
He did it. He did it. It's like, you know what I
Round
find?
of applause.
Yeah, I know, right?
Thank
No,
you.
I find like when people go that, like, it's like, oh, you rap? Can you do this? It's like same as like that people go, oh, you play guitar? Can you play this song? It's like, no, I don't know that song.
Yeah.
Like,
there are a lot of
There are
songs
lots
out
of
there.
songs.
But I can do
know
this thing.
This many. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kieran does that all the time.
Did you just put me down? Is that what you just did?
I played that cliche for so long, and you're like, play one Jimmy Barnes song. We did, and then you weren't there for the concert. You weren't there for the gig.
Poor communication on you. If I knew that Jimmy Barnes was playing, I wouldn't have been in an altered state of consciousness before the show.
Anyway, so
It's good to preempt. Yeah.
and you were saying just before the podcast started that you got some stuff releasing very soon.
That's right. So tomorrow, or when you folks, you fine academics of the institution at which Kieran works, yesterday for you, I've just released a new single. So it's called Kingdom, and it's my first single. And in fact, the story is that that's a song that I wrote and recorded about 20 months ago and put it out into the ether in its demo shoddy form and just kind of let it be. And then over the years, over the year and a half or so since, I've traveled, I've taken in a lot more experience from the world, and I've kind of rewritten it and reapproached it with the idea that, the kingdom of heaven exists within all of us. It's not something that we can try to aspire to one day in our lives. It's actually something that we can unlock within ourselves. So upon coming to that realization, I decided, all right, this is something I want to pursue. Rap and music is how I'm going to express myself in the world. And I found my keys to my kingdom. And in that rap braggadocio way, I reckon I've put out a banger of a track.
Awesome.
And that's something that we can definitely check out.
Absolutely. And is it on Facebook or SoundCloud or iTunes, or where can we find this
That's
new
right.
track?
So you can find it on Facebook, facebook.com/Emkew, spelled EMKEW, just to be a little bit different and do the whole phonetic spelling type situation of my initials. And so that page is up and live, and the single will be out on Wednesday, the 17th of Jan. And give it a listen, give it a spin, send it around to your friends and family. And within about a month or so, you'll be able to come to some live gigs, see me perform that, along with a slew of other tracks.
That's
as well.
awesome. And we'll put all the links for you down in our little description there, and share your stuff around on Facebook as well.
That's yeah,
And when the first
absolutely.
And we should go to his first gig for sure.
Absolutely. When's the first gig?
First gig, we haven't locked in a date yet. But basically, once I've got a critical mass of material ready to perform, that's when it's go time.
Like minimal viable product. Business terms. I know this stuff.
He just wants a set.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Church knows.
Yeah, that's right.
I want to come back to you traveling, but we'll come back to that in a bit. I've got a news article that I want to share. I've got a news article because this is what this podcast is about.
Usually.
Sometimes talking about some funny news articles.
Or testing dildos. One of the two.
You should have been there when we tested the dildos.
Not even Kieran was there when we tested the dildos.
I was called for an emergency. I am a volunteer firefighter, and
everyone check out episode 6. Anyway, Kieran, what have you got for us on that side?
Okay, all right. This is an old article actually, but I was scrolling through and I found it, and I thought this is bloody hilarious.
Yep.
An arrested couple have been sprung having sex in the back of a police paddy wagon while being driven to the station.
That's awesome. That is
Now, I want you guys, which state or territory did this occur in?
Northern Territory.
Nah, I reckon this was like Victoria. I reckon it was right here.
You reckon the fine citizens of Victoria.
I've seen some of the fine citizens of Victoria. And I think it was hometown Melbourne right here.
Hometown Melbourne. Okay, Mash is saying Northern Territory.
Yeah. Do
Hands
you want to have a
down.
guess, Kieran?
Why Northern Territory?
It's an article, it's a story, it's a level of focus on the crude that only the Northern Territory can muster for me.
I don't know. I think news.com.au can do that as well.
Well, it is the Northern Territory.
Oh,
Mash has got it
yes.
correct.
Yes.
But wait, Kieran, you didn't have a guess.
I knew where it was coming from.
Are you assuming that he only read the headline, didn't bother with the rest of the article?
I wouldn't put it past him.
Do you know what? No. This is how much preparation I've done for this podcast.
It's the first.
That I saw,
But it's an article he read a year ago.
I saw the article and I was like, right, I'm going to get this. And I couldn't access it from the NT News because I had to pay like $7 a week for the access to the
So
subscription.
you've literally only got the headline.
No, I've actually got the article. Fuck you, Turch. And my computer's frozen, so I can't scroll down, but I can read the first part.
Yeah.
But I must say, on business terms that you were talking about before, Kieran, that's supply and demand. The demand for the NT News has gone up in droves over the last year or so, just because they have whopper headlines that people are
It's
drawn
like the
to read.
Patuta Advocate, I guess.
Oh, true.
It's like the Patuta, like there's catchy headlines. They get the shares, they get the advertisement revenue, and all that sort of stuff. They're just exploding, and now they've got their own beer.
Oh,
living the
what?
dream. Yeah,
Oh, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Wait, the Batuta Advocate has their own beer?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they do.
No way.
Dead set.
Is that not just one of their articles, though?
No.
No,
Like, I've
actually-
seen like the two guys that run the Batuta Advocate like holding cans of their own beer.
Oh, wow.
And they got it in one of the pubs down that way.
Nice.
They've got some in there.
Up in Batuta.
Up in Batuta. Like I said, we should contact that What's Only a Bugle around here. I think.
We will contact that.
Oh.
What's Only a Bugle. We will have them on the podcast.
Damn right.
If they don't come on, then we're just going to bag the shit out of
Yeah,
them.
that's right.
That might be
And we
called
lost all of our followers.
Next week on the podcast, has the Fourth Estate run rampant?
I'm eating shoes.
So this couple was in the back of a cop car, and they were in the
All right.
act of lovemaking.
An arrested couple have been sprung shagging in the back of a police paddy wagon. For our American listeners, that's a police car. While being driven to the cop station. That's the police station, once again, for the American listeners.
I think they'll understand what a cop station is.
Yeah,
They do have cops there.
They are American.
That's true.
I
And they're
don't-
fantastic followers. Thank you so much. Jesus Christ.
I was going to say, I don't think the intelligent ones are listening. Anyway.
That's cut.
We can edit it out.
Yeah.
That's fine. Hannah Walker was driving behind the police car. Anyway.
Yeah.
And said she was shocked to find the couple looking back when she pulled up behind, and my computer's frozen, so I can't see.
I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell
Anyway,
you.
I read the article.
Yeah.
They were arrested. They obviously knew each other.
Yep.
They got chucked in the back of the paddy wagon.
Yep.
Right. And they just went for it. And
Well, what have they got to lose?
the police lady was like, hang on, something's not right. The car's rocking about. If it's rocking, don't come a knocking, if you know what I mean. Went through, apparently, I think it was 3 traffic lights.
Yep.
So stopped at 3 red lights.
And he was done.
I think so. and then went to, go, hey, you can't do that. Which I think, good on him. Because that's probably the last time they're going to get to do anything like that until they get locked up for probably, I don't know, it's Northern Territory, 10 years.
Oh, what were they in for? Just drunken, disorderly.
Oh, let's not get bogged down. I don't know why they're in for it.
They could have been just going to jail for the night.
Yeah.
Oh, look, they could have.
But you know what, though? That's made my bucket list now. That's now
that's
on
good.
there. If I ever find myself in that situation, or if I'm just at that point in my life, I might try and get arrested with a member of the opposite sex so that I can find myself in that situation.
Why not?
I'm
And they
surprised
obviously
actually put people of the same sex in the paddy wagon.
What do
Well,
you
I guess
think?
it's
they
the
don't
NT.
discriminate.
I think they
just-
only
I
have
thought
about.
they did discriminate.
It's whatever they put I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like what do they care? As long as they're locked up and they've got the handcuffs on and safe like that, they're just taking them to the local cell at the station. I don't care.
Oh, you know
Fair
what'd
enough.
be- I wonder if they were handcuffed. If they were handcuffed, that would be a very impressive feat.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, yes.
How did he do this? Unless he's wearing like track pants or something. Like he's got a zipper.
Yeah.
Potentially a belt.
Are we talking? We're talking the lower class of the bogans now.
Well, I said he could have had a belt and probably wouldn't have had a belt and a pair of track pants. But you know,
Probably not.
that's a skill and a half.
You know what though? I don't deign to speak for all classes, but I would say that the idea of having sex with someone in the back of a divvy van would probably not be limited to class. I would say just about anyone, given the opportunity, would probably want to go for that.
It's like the Mile High Club, isn't it? And people give it a go. Like it's like, it's a bit naughty, risky, this and that. You know, we've got an hour and a half flight. We've got 10 minutes. Let's go.
Good on him. Good on him. That's what I say.
Definitely good on them.
And I, especially if I'm in airports as well. Actually, I'm a pro non-belt guy. I like to not wear a belt.
Yeah.
Makes it easier in the back of a divvy van.
Yeah.
It does. It does. So I was in the Northern Territory in 2009.
Yeah.
But it wasn't me.
So this is an article from 2009.
Yeah, from articles from 2009.
Is that why you brought it in? You just wanted to tell the Northern Territory
I
story.
did.
of
I
you
did.
Not doing this.
I saw it and I was like, I know this is a long time ago, but geez, I want to bring it in.
Fantastic.
Terrific. I like that. That was a really good news story. I think
I felt like it was
It
a
opened
happy
my
news
eyes.
story.
coming into it, I wouldn't have known that that was possible. That I would have thought they would separate them out or something.
Australian, innovation, really pushing the boundaries of what you can really do in a, we always go that one step beyond of stupidity. And why not? It's got the opportunity, do it.
Melbourne, step up. Turch wants Melbourne to step up.
Yes, oh, absolutely. Watsonia, Melbourne, I don't get. Step up to the plate.
The retirement village of Watsonia.
Well, apparently, retirement villages have a really high rates of STDs. Did you know that?
No way.
Dead set, because they don't care anymore. So, and most of them are all, the women at least are all menopausal, and they're like, well, we're gonna die anyway, and lots of STDs. So between the ages of 65 onwards, and 18, I think 21 or something and below, have really high STD rates because of that.
There you go.
There
Good
you
on
go.
him.
Oh, why not?
Good on him.
Viagra was a fantastic invention.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh.
My drink's empty.
Yeah.
And my computer's about got 3% battery left.
That's pretty impressive.
And it's got the rest of my shit on it. So I'm going to fill up my drink and grab my power cord.
Get some more scotch. I think we need it.
Yep. All right. And we need more biscuits.
Yeah, we do.
And we edit this part out.
Terrific.
And by that, he means me.
All right. Tonight's podcast, once again, who are not paying us money, but we're very gracious. Oh, shit. I forgot the biscuits.
You're just going to have to eat it.
We've got the cheese, but I left the biscuit. I left the Savoys, which were cracked pepper Savoys as well. Yeah.
Oh, you
Yeah.
really classed it up.
Do you want me to get the crack?
Is it too much?
Nah, it's fine. We got time.
I'll get the cracked pepper
Crackers.
Savoys. But the sponsor is the Wattle Valley handmade soft ripened triple cream brie, an authentic.
Authentic.
Oh yes, an orthodontic French style triple cream brie, good to eat at any stage of maturation and suitable for
What was that word?
vegetarians. Maturation.
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 Maturity?
No, maturation.
Okay. I stand corrected.
Thank you. It's not often that happens,
No.
but I will take that as a win. Let me get the Savoy packet.
Get the Savoys.
All right. And Arnott Savoy cracked pepper, baked, not fried. Get your Arnott Savoy cracked pepper with your cheese.
It's going to be the worst fucking thing for me to edit. Thank you so much.
I just want to make a public service announcement. This is to our subscribers and listeners. Not a good idea to mix technology. What have we got? 2 laptops, a brand new sound doobacky.
Interface.
That's it.
New microphones.
Yep. The microphones are fine because they're up high.
Cables.
Cables.
Headphones.
Don't put drinks near them, especially if you've been... Actually, I know we're going to hand it over to Mash,
Yes.
but I've got a very important announcement.
Yep.
We all know that you can drive a car if you're under 0.05.
That's right.
Yeah, okay. Northern Territory is 0.08.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. What do you think you need to be to fly a drone? What level of alcohol to fly a drone?
0.02, I imagine.
I'd say it's the
Something
same as a
stupid.
car.
No, I reckon it'd be one of those ones where just they've gone overzealous with the legislation for it.
Well, it only applies to New Jersey, where the Chris Christie, there's Trump.
Yeah.
Well, Chris Christie is,
Yeah.
he's a Republican
Yeah.
character, but
Yep.
being
Character.
overshown by Trump at the moment.
Yeah,
He's
of
not
course.
getting much of a look in. And I thought it'd be important that we give him a look in. Well, he's now signed legislation in New Jersey that's saying drunk droning is now illegal.
Good. I never realized it was an issue.
Too many wobbly drones in the air. Turch doesn't like it.
I didn't know it was an issue either, but apparently you have to be under 0.08
That's all right.
to legally fly your drone.
You know what? By the time I'm 0.8 in the drinking sort of scale, or how much alcohol I've got, I don't want to fly a drone. I want to keep drinking and then possibly get a kebab or 20 nuggets, and that's what I want to do.
I breath tested myself once, and I was 0.048 or 0.047 or whatever it was, and I was like, technically I could drive. I was like, I know this is saying I can drive, and I'm probably going to spike up because I've been drinking, and it's going to get me, if I drive, I'm going to be over 0.05. But I was like, I don't think I could drive a car at 0.047
Yeah,
or
everyone's
0.048.
tolerances are different.
Are you calling me weak?
I'm just saying. Probably the same for me. I'm a smaller guy than you.
Excellent. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's good. That's
See?
good. Yeah.
There was a video that did the rounds of a guy who blew 0.16, so more than 3 times the legal limit. But he claims at least more than 12 hours after he stopped drinking. He'd been on a complete bender the night before. To hear him tell it was a quiet night in. The guy was from the Northern Territory,
Of course
I
he
imagine.
was.
But
Melbourne, step it up.
Melbourne,
Too many ciders around here.
But it's basically, imagine how high it must have been while he was drinking that it's come down the next day, 12, 18 hours later, to still be triple the limit, and he's driving. And seemingly driving just fine, because he'd driven his mates to and from work that morning.
What a star. What a star.
Oh, fair enough.
The quintessential Australian hero.
There you go. All right, let's hand it over to Mash. Mash, what do you have for us?
So to put it into a bit of a different tone, something that's been sort of catching my attention of late is, I guess, the idea of male celebrity, right? And how that gets viewed, how that gets perceived these days. Myself, I think I'm on the cusp of celebrity, being
You're a celebrity in our eyes.
Oh,
thanks, guys. Being a
the first celebrity to be on this podcast. So, number 1 for us.
now my faux bravado that I was going to lead with is shot to shit because you guys have just made me feel really, really good about myself, and I don't feel insecure and need to cover it up. What I was going to say though is, say for example, you've got Aziz Ansari.
Yeah.
For anyone that's been following in the last 24 hours or so, it's emerged that he sexually harassed or sexually assaulted someone on a first date.
Yep.
And the story...
That's the comedian, right?
That's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
comedian.
Yeah.
The TV show Master of None, a phenomenal exploration of what it means to be a young person of color in the world of the entertainment industry, the arts industry, and with some really excellent exposure on all kinds of different issues. And he's essentially that sort of figurehead of someone who is sensitive to the needs of all people, and probably one of the last people you would expect to be caught up in a scandal such as this. And the story more or less goes that he was quite pushy on a first date with a lady who has since come around and told her story to an online publication. And now he's responded to that story and claimed that at the time, everything that he felt he did was consensual, but did not have any understanding of her perception of that encounter until the next morning when she texted him to let him know, at which point he immediately privately apologized and said that I wasn't aware of that. So being a male celebrity and an occasion like that, the story and the way that it's told has been described by another article writer as revenge porn written out, revenge erotica, basically, to basically humiliate this author. Now, I wanted to tie that one in to Logan Paul.
Oh yeah.
Of
he
the two
did
Paul brothers.
a video of in Japan.
The Japanese.
That's
Yeah.
right. The Japanese suicide forest video, which will probably live on in infamy for all of YouTube's 72-hour attention span.
I don't know about you. I have never seen this Logan. What's his name?
Logan Paul.
Logan Paul.
Logan
I've
Paul.
got
I've
his
not
brother
either.
named Jake as well,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah.
I've never seen him. I didn't know. No, I feel like I sound like I'm old. I've never seen him. I don't know anything about him. And I reckon for the past week, it's all like. And I haven't even actually read any of the articles.
So he's
but
quite
the articles keep popping up.
Well, he's quite a big YouTube star. I mean, he's got 16 million subscribers on YouTube, which is
It's a lot more than 9.
I was
But we've got to be careful here, right? YouTube is a different entity to the
Yeah.
podcast world.
That's
So
true.
9
That's
could
very
be
so I'm
humongous. 9 could be like, take that YouTube, like
Yeah.
Logan, like we're
putting it
kicking
out there.
your
We
ass.
do have a YouTube account, and we have 3. So
We've got 3?
Three.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
My God, we're growing in popularity.
So if these numbers keep rising, it could be like Bitcoin. You never know.
Low triple digits are on
Yeah,
the horizon,
we're
guys.
trying. We're trying here. Look, I think the Aziz Ansari. I mean, I think the more people that sort of come out. I mean, there's been lots of people coming out at the moment with sexual harassment claims. I mean, there was one against James Franco as well.
Yeah.
And James Franco, I think, is just a fantastic actor. I mean, he started recently in the Disaster Artist of The Room. I don't know if anyone's seen The Room. No, you weren't there when we watched it at Phillip Island. You came the next day. But he did, he started recently in the Disaster Artist, got an award. And then that woman put up like a Twitter post saying, oh yeah, me too, or something like that. Or, remember the time you made me get naked and I didn't want to, but basically she said, even in her tweet saying, oh, I signed a contract saying I would get naked.
Yeah, there were a couple of allegations, and one was to do with an actress who was uncomfortable being pressured to be naked in an orgy scene in a film he was directing.
But you did sign a contract.
I mean, look, there's lines there, so I'm going to say that even if there is a contract, the idea where harassment is overstepping is when a person then says, I'm uncomfortable doing this exact thing to do with my body. It's no longer an act to perform as a part of the measure. It's about what is this? But my question is, surely one would have read the script beforehand and seen that there's an orgy scene present and gone, I want to do this project, or no, I don't want to do this project because of the orgy scene.
And I'm sure that, I mean, there was obviously in a contract. I mean, I've dealt with my fair share of contracts for consultants, a whole bunch of stuff. You sort of have to be very explicit.
Do your consultants have orgies?
Look, I don't want to say what they do in their private
There's
time.
a confidentiality clause in those contracts.
There. But what the point I'm going at is, it's very explicit of like what we want and what they have to do. Because if you don't, then the person who's paying for the
How many people read contracts? I know.
Everybody, everyone should. I mean, I even read my phone contract. It's one of those things.
You read your phone contract?
Yeah, of course.
Wow.
Doesn't anybody else?
No.
I read
used
everything.
to sell phone contracts. I no.
Yeah,
I see. If you sold phone contracts, I would go, what am I signing up to? And I'd be like, give it to me in lay people terms.
Yep.
I don't want to know the complicated nitty gritties.
Yep.
And that's it.
Nah, I think that's the important thing. I think, it's like that South Park episode where, like, Kyle doesn't read the iTunes thing and he's allowed to be in
I think we've learnt something. If we become really big and we have to sign contracts, I'm not going to read them.
Yeah, I'm going to get my lawyers to write to read them for us.
No, we're going to have lawyers.
Yeah.
I don't trust
That's why
your
you pay the
lawyers.
You pay the lawyers. But I think that a lot of this, so going back to this sexual allegations, I mean, it's just come out more and more and more and more and more people have sort of come out. And there's sort of two sides to this. So I'm going to play devil's advocate here and say that a lot of these people are coming out now when they don't have anything to lose, and that's why they're coming out now. So, like, Harvey Weinstein's a really great example. All these women are coming out now
There's momentum. You can't deny that there's momentum.
No. But obviously it started. They're like, yeah, we can all come out with solidarity, all this sort of stuff. And good, strength in numbers, all that sort of thing. But all these people that are coming out now are now very large celebrities that have won awards because of what Harvey Weinstein has done. I mean, Gwyneth Paltrow came out and said, he touched me inappropriately, or asked me to watch him masturbate and all this sort of stuff. But she also won an Academy Award for one of the films that he produced. Why didn't, if she did that all those years ago, technically, apart from the fact that she wouldn't have had a career in Hollywood, she didn't have anything to lose back then, and now she really doesn't have anything to lose. She's in the same position, but why wouldn't, if someone came up to me, like my partner, my mum, my sister, whatever it is, and said, hey, I got this part in the role, but I also saw the producer's dick and he masturbated in a pot plant, I'd be like, you probably should tell the police. Like, that's just my natural instinct. But I don't understand why they didn't do that in the first place. And that's what's got me up a little bit like 50-50 about all these allegations. Not only that, none of them are substantiated. I mean, at this point in time, similar to what's happening to Aziz and James Franco, they've said these things. They could potentially lose their jobs in the roles that they're in currently, but nothing is substantiated yet.
That's been my... there's two elements to this. My biggest concern is innocent until proven guilty, which I'm really upset because, and God forbid, Kevin Spacey's allegations. I hope they're not true, and I think if they are true, good on them, Netflix for pulling them off.
Yeah, exactly
House of
right.
Cards, right. Yep. But innocent until proven guilty, I think he should have stayed on House of Cards, or suspended. Let an investigation happen.
Exactly right.
Cards, let's House of Cards. If it comes out in 4 years' time, it comes out in 4 years' time, whatever. Right? That's an option. There's an interesting psych experiment, right? And there's basically it's not a psych experiment. This is actually what happened in real life. There was this McDonald's employee who got a phone call. She was in the back room. She got a phone call, and this person started saying he was from the police and started being an authority, right? And he started giving her some demands. So just simple demands like, can you look at this book or whatever, I'm doing an investigation. I need to find out X, Y, Z. Anyway,
is this the one? I think I've heard about this one. And he eventually tells her to do something and lock customers in. Was it locking customers?
Well, not quite locking customers in, but the manager comes in, right?
Yep.
To this employee, and the manager gets the phone. Long story short, he gets... And this person's on the phone, by the way, and he said he's a police officer. Now, I know to you and me, we're going, can you you're thinking verify that it's a police officer, right?
Yep.
Or come into McDonald's.
Yep.
Got them both to take off their clothes, and both got them to perform sexual acts to one another.
But that's another, yeah.
And said that you would lose your job. But there's this whole spiel about if someone's an authority figure, how much they can actually persuade or push you, and you will follow because they are you deem them to be an authority figure.
I think
it's a very interesting phenomenon.
For me, that's what the whole Me Too movement is about. It's not about retribution. It's not about criminal sanctions. It's actually about highlighting abuse of power, especially in that industry, but more in terms of society writ large. So when you've got someone like Harvey Weinstein, who is an incredibly powerful figure in that industry, his word determines the hiring and firing of an individual on a B movie somewhere down the lot. When that person then abuses that power in the way that this prankster would have called up McDonald's and gotten two people to perform sex acts upon one another, in the same way, both of these people who've enacted the thing that they're doing, Harvey Weinstein and this prankster, they're power tripping. They're basically just saying, this is a thing I can do, so I might as well.
It's a Catholic Church in a nutshell.
Back to religion.
Massively.
I somehow bring it in every episode.
And again, the Catholic Church probably similarly guilty. I mean, I can't imagine that every one of these priests necessarily felt that they were attracted to young boys in particular. I can't speak for them, but I would imagine that in some cases, it's more about the notion that they can do this and think that they can get away with it than the idea of whatever the actual sex act is. And that abuse of power highlighting that and doing that in a retrospective way with momentum and highlighting each instance of it is an incredibly powerful and probably empowering experience for the people who feel that they have been victimized by these men and by people that have committed these acts. But I think when you've got individuals that are continuously doing good work, releasing good entertainment, then it needs to have that line somewhere. There needs to be a measure to say, okay, yes, Aziz Ansari, one example of a powerful, influential figure, he did commit an act that was less than noble, to say the least, where it verges on sexual harassment, sexual assault. That is definitely a system for the criminal, an idea for the criminal justice system to deal with more than culture. And so for one account of one person's less than noble behavior, that shouldn't be enough to bring down a career that is built primarily for the purpose of highlighting and empowering everyone that has normally not had a voice. And I think that where this conversation needs to start going, and ideally where I'd like to see it go, is how do we move on? How do we allow these individuals who may have transgressed in the past to continue on in their work devoid of the sexual assault? So, for example, for Gwyneth Paltrow, she probably would have won those Academy Awards regardless of if she had been forced to commit sex acts, assuming she was allowed to get the job on the merits of her talents, of which we know there are many.
Yeah. I agree with that. It's one of those things where I guess for me looking at it, it's like, do they... The big thing for me is, why didn't they come out and speak about this earlier in their careers? Because at the end of the day, if they've got substantial evidence, and again, it's one of those dominoes things where you can come out, and I think a lot of other people at that time, when it sort of all happened, probably would have come out as well. Because, if Gwyneth Paltrow did it when she was early in her career, I mean, she had lots of already powerful... I mean, her parents were actors as well. She already had lots of powerful friends in that industry. I'm sure if she did it all those times back, all that, when she started her acting, I think there would have been just that stronger movement back then as there is now. And similarly, that casting couch sort of persona of what Hollywood is.
Did you just say casting couch?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That casting couch sort of persona in, Hollywood has always been that is something that it's always been talked about sort of, as a joke, as a parody or a background sort of but why didn't they take it seriously back when those jokes started? And that's what's it's confusing me. One, people losing jobs on just allegations. If I was to lose my job on an allegation, I'd be like, well, no, that's not how it works. And two, okay, if you wanted to do this, you could have done it when it happened. I mean, waiting 20 years when an activity happened, I understand that, stress causes this and, you don't want to talk about this now. But you know what? If a guy just, asks you to watch him masturbate into a bush or something like that, just tell the cops. Tell people around him.
Yeah.
People are going to believe it. I mean, they're believing them now. Why wouldn't they believe them 10, 20 years ago?
I think there is a gap that we have as three men discussing this who've, I don't know about you guys, I've never felt victimized by a sexual assault or someone coming on to me too strongly. I felt like I had people come on to me too strongly, but never in the way that I felt like I can't resist or I can't say no.
There's a reason why you're sitting opposite Turch, and there's a barrier. Just want to point that out.
Look,
Thank you, Kieran. You're welcome.
some very intense eye contact. But I would say that without knowing the experience of being someone who is eager to get a job, has heard that this is the kind of thing that goes on here, so compliance is probably what results in getting a job. That kind of mentality weighing on someone's mind could probably be really powerful. And the idea that you're told to keep it hush-hush, that
and the paycheck.
You're special. And perhaps the paycheck. Perhaps the idea that this is the only way that one can sustain a lifestyle that one grows accustomed to could play into it as well.
Okay, then. So what is your day job?
So my day job at present is to make music and drive Uber.
Right.
And the music is yet to make me money.
So if Uber was like this,
yep,
would you do it?
No. So if Uber...
So what they're asking for is not a regular lifestyle. They're asking for the lifestyle of high society. They're asking for a more, a dream is what they're really asking for here. So what they're really trading for is for millions and millions of dollars of admiration and respect and this and that for what they can do on screen, but also to a degree the sexual acts of what they do. So now we're not talking about, I really wanted this $100,000 job at an accounting firm. It's like, I want a $2 million contract for films and earn $20 million the rest of my life every day. But I guess every year, it's subtly different.
So my question is it incumbent on the person that can offer that job to someone that they can ask for anything they like, including a debasing sex act? Are you saying that kind of goes hand in hand with the weight of the offer that's on the plate?
I'm not saying that they should be offering it. I'm just saying that if the offer was made and the sex acts did occur, to a degree, it was their decision to do it.
I hear that. I think
they knew, they knew if they didn't do it, then they wouldn't get the job.
At the end of the day,
what are they doing? They're trading something for something else.
At the end of the day, the person committing that act, no one held a gun to their head. It was still a yes or no question. I do take your point. I think where the Me Too movement wants to shift social attitudes towards the notion is that there shouldn't be that question in the first place.
Like
and
I agree with
I think
that.
that's where we want to get to, right?
Do you know an interesting phenomenon, right? Mm-hmm. And this is a fascinating phenomenon. We're all capable of murder.
Yeah, exactly right.
Right. And put in the right circumstances, we will commit it.
Yeah.
Louis C.K. does a bit. He says, can you imagine if murder was legal? Shopping centers would just be filled with little kids whose parents got sick of them.
Oh, no way. I haven't heard that part.
He also masturbated in front of people.
Also
that's another thing, right?
So he's not the best judge of morality on this matter or any matter for that example. But I think you're right.
Look. My question is I mean, my education. I know why people will do things. And one of the concepts or one of the phenomenons is the authority figure, but also one of the things is why don't people come forward?
Yeah, and
I don't know the answer to that question, nor have I given it enough thought to understand that question. So it's an interesting point of view, though. Nevertheless,
I think between the three of us, we probably can't come up with a pretty resolute answer, but I have enjoyed this discussion.
It's been really good.
It's something that's been bouncing around my head a lot. I've read a lot of articles on places like Jezebel and Junkie and BuzzFeed, places that kind of inform my opinion from a very different perspective. But it is good to kind of talk some of these things out loud, get a bit of an idea.
It's interesting. And it's the We Only Do One Take podcast.
Well, we try our best.
I think we did a really good take just then of that.
Yeah, I think
we do one take, but then I edit the shit out of it.
No, actually, to be fair, you don't do much editing, and in fact, you probably put more sound effects in.
There's a lot more editing in it than you really realize, Kieran.
I just want to let the listeners know that it's a team effort.
It is. It is.
Turch, we haven't heard an article from you.
We haven't.
And I'd like to hear an article.
So I thought I'd try to lighten the mood, and I talk about pornography.
Can we... Can we at least get some sound effects put in right here?
You know it, baby.
You know,
like
like
it. Yeah.
Can it just be that exact?
You know
sound
what?
effects?
It's funny. I told him...
Not Trump Watch. Not the Trump Watch one, though. It can't be the Trump Watch sound effect.
It's funny. This guy goes to me every so often. Put in a sound effect. He'd be like, pew, pew. And I'd be like, so what I do is I just save them as clips. And now I use them as sound effects. So I know exactly... Not only do I use the sound effects that he wants, but it's actually him doing it. So, now so anyway, let's go to pornography.
Yes, please.
So...
Last week we talked about dildos. This week we talk about pornography.
I actually got another one. But
we should have had him on when we talked about sex robots.
I've got another one about sex robots as well.
I love that topic.
That's good. But let's do this one first. So Pornhub have released their most popular searches in 2017. Does anyone want to have a guess on of what the most popular searches were?
Is it worldwide?
Yes, it's worldwide.
I want to say MILF.
MILF, yeah, that's good.
MILF is up there.
I'm going to say daddy issues based on the last year of what we just talked about.
So I'm just gonna go through. So 2007. This is the first line of the article. 2017 was a big year for Rick and Morty themed porn, apparently. So you were both wrong.
Well, I guess it's kind of daddy issues.
Yeah, it's something. So
Granddaddy issues. I hope Summer features in most of it. No, how old is she? Let's not go there.
no,
Let's cut that one.
Me too. So the top trending porn searches for 2017 were porn for women, which increased more than 1,400%. Rick and Morty, fidget spinners, 1080p, ASMR, hentai, and cheerleader.
And you know, on Christmas Day, or leading up to
It
Christmas
goes
Day,
really high, super high.
Santa Claus
Yes.
is a very popular search term.
Yeah. So a whopping 3,732 petabytes of data was streamed. Apparently enough to fill every last iPhone on Earth.
What is a petabyte?
I think it's the next one from terabyte, or maybe the one after that. I don't know, but it's quite a bit.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So you said every iPhone on Earth.
Every iPhone on Earth, apparently, according to this article.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, everyone's using their phone these days.
Yeah. So, okay, here's a good one. So it's streamed, not downloaded, streamed.
Actually, question. You worked at a telecommunications store.
Yeah. Yep.
People would bring in their phones.
Usually,
Did you see, did people not delete their history?
Hashtag me too.
yeah, sometimes it was very non-consensual and I felt very confronted. So some people wouldn't have deleted their histories. Sometimes you would be having to drag and drop someone's photos from one phone to another, and there'd be you get a glimpse of skin, and less noble staff members may get more than a glimpse. But you'll have, unfortunately, it's just the thing. It's just a done thing. People do that on their phones. My favorite was a very old gentleman who'd obviously just gotten a smartphone and been introduced to the fact that it has the internet. Now, I don't know whether this man knew about internet porn before getting this phone or whether he worked it out on his own on the phone, but it was full of it. And he showed me.
Good. I've heard actually lots of stories like that. We've got a few friends at work at
the telecommunications stores.
and they're just like so much old people, old men, old women in porn. They search for it, they find it, and it's just there. And
They
they're willing
peruse
to
it.
show
They don't know how to delete it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they just transfer it from one phone to another.
They're like, I want to save those bookmarks. I wonder how many of those petabytes are theirs.
Oh.
That should be a TV series, actually, where, the person comes in and it's like, to the person that works at the telecommunications store, like, I'm getting a new phone, but I want all my porn, all my, my favorites transferred over.
Mm.
Just want to hang on to those memories of Alexis, Texas.
I'll send all your Alexis Texas photos to MASH on Facebook. So Australia turned out to be one of the randiest nations per capita. Anyone want to guess what rank we came? Per capita, obviously. So
It's never good to
actually
come
define
first.
per capita,
so it means
because our listeners in America might not know. Plus me.
they do.
Plus
it
me.
just means like
Per person.
per it'll be per how many people in the country. So it's comparable between countries.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So everyone's got 100%.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Where did Australia come in?
Yep.
We are a developed country.
Yep.
And it's on a per capita basis.
Yep.
Do we get the Northern Territory by themselves?
Not in this article.
Because the Northern Territory's only got 200,000, but they are a raunchy bunch.
Yeah.
The Northern Territory.
So you reckon what rank did we come in?
Look,
the world?
in the Olympics we never come first, so I'm going to say.
Neither should we in the bedroom. I think.
I'm going to say Australia came second.
Second.
That's my vote.
You second? We actually came 8th, so it's not too bad.
We don't even get a podium finish.
Nah.
No.
So we came behind the. We came behind the USA, UK, India, Japan, Canada, France, and Germany.
I don't think that was 7. Was that 7?
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 7.
Oh, okay.
US, UK, India, Japan, Canada, France, Germany.
Oh, okay, that's
No,
7.
wait.
Yeah, that's 7. Yeah.
So the average visit lasted 9 minutes and 59 seconds.
Sorry, was that 9 or 90?
9 minutes.
9 minutes.
And the
90.
most porn was viewed between 10 p.m. and midnight on Sundays. Everyone was really getting ready for the week.
I'm going to see Jan from accounting tomorrow.
But
And?
or Gail from HR.
She just really reminds me of Rick and Morty.
Do you have the US Bible bashing figures, the Bible Belt figures?
No, I just have just basic figures here. Like this is what.
I saw this about 2 years ago. In America, Bible Belt. Okay, transferring over to gay porn, right?
Yeah.
What do you think the Bible Belt in America has?
I reckon
Like
it was.
what
way
percentage?
up.
I reckon it was super high. I reckon.
Not like out of all the porn that's watched,
Oh,
how much do you reckon is like?
Oh wow. Okay.
Is
I
gay
reckon-
porn viewed, and then what do you think? Like, let's just say
See,
America
this-
on average,
I reckon
and then
this-
let's look at the Bible Belt.
I reckon this is one of those trick questions because gay porn, does that include? Do you mean like lesbian porn as well, included in that gay porn thing, or you mean like gay men and then there's lesbians?
I don't know because I
And so
don't have
that would actually skew the thing.
I don't have the article
Because
on
I know on places like Pornhub, maybe not from personal experience, that gay and lesbian
Are
porn
two
are
separate
separated
things,
out,
yeah.
and I would say probably here gay porn.
Well,
is
this was a
explicitly
male.
This
gay
was a
porn.
Pornhub article, so let's go with men then.
I reckon out of all some of this, compared to some academic research, I reckon Pornhub and all those porn websites have more accurate data than anywhere else, because they're interested in getting people masturbating. And they know exactly how to target their audience and skew and get the data, get the videos, the data, the hashtags, the to make it very easy for people to search to things to wank
Oh,
to.
it's a business.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I think that they're very knowledgeable. I think they've got better people on it than most people would think.
There is definitely people behind that, and it's algorithms, and it's absolutely. All right, so
I want to say like 40% was the percentage of gay porn.
Yeah, I was gonna
of
go
all
for
porn
America.
in the Bible,
Bible
Belt,
Belt.
and in most of America, 10 to 15%.
Yeah, I reckon those numbers are pretty high. I reckon 15 and about then 35. So 35
Yeah.
for the Bible Belt, 15 for everywhere else.
Okay. So it was really actually it's much less than that. In the Bible Belt, it was about 6%, 6
Yeah.
to 10%.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. It depended on which state, but
Yeah.
it was averaging.
give or take.
It was 6 to 10%. Whereas the rest of America was down at about 4%.
Wow.
Okay. Yep.
So yeah,
I mean, not a
market
huge
spike.
difference. You go 4 and then like 6 to 10. I mean, either way, it's pretty similar. There's a subtle
It's
difference.
similar, but the fact that it spikes in a place that's deeply conservative.
Yes.
One thing I think could skew it though is those super conservative heterosexual individuals probably aren't consuming as much porn, and the individuals that do consume porn are probably closeted homosexual
Yeah.
individuals that just can't. They
I
have
can't
no
imagine-
other reprieve, so they go for it.
I can't
online.
imagine how many Mormons would be like straight.
Yeah.
Mormons would be watching porn, but I reckon the
You
ones
got
that are
3
gay,
wives. You
yeah,
can
like-
make your own fucking porn.
Yeah,
right?
they're like, but if you're gay and you got, you can still take 3 wives, but they have to be female. You'd probably go, yeah, I sort of want to see some cock. It's not like us. We could just walk into a sex shop and buy 3 dildos.
we did walk into a sex shop and buy 3 dildos,
I think that's excellent. I think everyone should be allowed to do that,
Yeah.
free of stigma.
and it went on my bloody card.
I know. I don't know how I
you
swindled that.
You had to tap each one individually. As
Oh,
well.
I
So
wish it was.
that would be the best. Where your bank calls you up and says a very non-characteristic purchase has just been made. Was that you?
No, it's funny because that didn't happen. Otherwise, I would have got a call saying, "Hey, guess what just happened?"
Though you can watch the YouTube clip.
There is a
There
YouTube
is a
clip of
YouTube
us
clip.
testing the dildos with a whole bunch of people blindfolded.
I had
Now,
actually
see-
passed out before that happened.
Yeah, that's true. I had to run it with my partner.
Now,
It was
see,
great.
so far you're still not appealing to me with this because all I know is that you've tested dildos.
Yep.
And there's a video on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I.
That's all you need
That's
to
all
know.
you're gonna give me. All right.
Look, no one put it in. Everyone was clothed. No, only one guy put it in their mouth.
Oh, okay.
So it's okay.
Oh, who put it in their mouth?
Did you not watch the goddamn video?
I
Damien did,
scrolled
of
through
course.
it. I scrolled through
Yeah.
it. I saw snippets.
Yeah.
You're one of the thumbnail guys on Pornhub. You just
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
browse through that way.
I want to find the specific part that I want, and then that's it. I feel like I revealed too much
Yeah, well-
information.
We've been very subtle about our porn habits here. Do you want a religious article?
Oh shit! Yeah.
I always knew it like this.
I would actually go. My computer is being very slow at the moment. I did an update.
Oh, High Sierra. Apparently, it's killing everyone's Macs.
Yeah, and it is
Terrible.
Yeah, my cousin just had to roll back his computer entirely. he had to go back to a, what is it? They call it time machine to something like April of last year.
Oh, terrible.
Just because it's carked it. I imagine it's the same thing as what happens with iPhones pre new iPhone.
Ugh.
The update they launched to tank it, which it's now confirmed.
Yeah, didn't they
That's
say
the
that
thing
they
do.
update the software just enough to get the old devices to not work very well, so it forces people to upgrade?
Yeah, exactly. And it's a stark admission
Oh.
that Apple have finally come out and said, "Oh yeah, that's probably a thing we do."
Well, anyway, speaking of turning back the clock, a Turkish academic claims Prophet Noah, used a cell phone to call his son before the flood. So a Turkish academic has claimed that the Prophet Noah called his son via mobile phone shortly before the Genesis flood, a narrative recounted in both the Islam's Quran and Christianity's Old Testament holy books. Yavuz Ornek, a lecturer at the Marine Sciences Faculty of Istanbul University, has made
a very prestigious university, it sounds like.
Has made the now viral claim, appearing on the Turkish state-owned TRT television channel last Saturday. There were huge 300 to 400 meter waves, and the Prophet Noah's son, was many kilometers away, he stated. The Quran says Noah spoke with his son, but how did they manage to communicate? Was it a miracle? It could be. But we believe he communicated to his son via cell phone, or neck. Was quoted in English.
By cell phone, are they referring to those two cups with the string in the middle?
No, he's talking about, my Samsung S5 over here. Hello, son? Definitely a flood coming. I would definitely get indoors. Yes, and the best thing about this at the end, he says, I am a scientist and I speak for science.
It's good that he clarified that at the end. You know what though? I have not a hard time believing that, because sending out a mass text before a big catastrophic event seems to be all the rage. I don't know if you guys have heard about this thing in Hawaii.
I'm safe, just to let you know, everybody.
The best thing about the Hawaii thing, you probably know this because you're talking about it. I love it. There's two things. The person who stuffed up. Mind you, I've stuffed up at work before, but I've never stuffed up that big. Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
You can always recall an email. You can't recall 300 million.
Apparently on the click button, it
emails.
said test, what was it? Test missile procedures. Yeah. Test, and then the button underneath that was there's a missile happening, right?
Yeah.
And if I can accidentally spill my drink tonight,
which
on
did
the
happen.
equipment, I'm going to be, if I was in that role, I would stuff up and I would push the test for the real thing.
Yeah.
The best thing though, I was looking through the tweets, and there was a tweet that said, it was a message or whatever it was, and it said, "We're being evacuated. Missile coming towards Hawaii," and the response comes back with, "What are you doing?" And then it was,
"Send nudes.
New
phone. Who this?
The buffet has cleared so quickly. I'm sticking around and eating." And I thought, that is what I would do. If the bar's not open, I am stuffing myself.
Yeah.
I'm amazed there was no looting.
Yeah.
Like, usually, like, all that sort of stuff happens, like, big warning, this and that. TVs are out the door.
Yep.
Usually.
I guess it's a peaceful people in Hawaii.
Surfboard shops are gone, though.
The one I'm the most intrigued about is surely years from now there will be people emerging from bunkers, shocked to learn that it didn't happen.
Actually, there's probably some people in bunkers.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's probably someone or another who's gone underground, at least for a day or two, and they're listening. Maybe they've got CB radio, but if they don't even have that, and they finally go, all right, family, it's been long enough. We can only watch Rick and Morty so many times. Let's get out of here and see what's going on.
Hey, why is the internet still working?
Actually, that's an issue, because you're going to need DVDs if you're in a bunker.
Yep.
Wi-Fi will be out.
Yeah.
Don't throw out your DVDs. In fact, donate your DVDs to We Only Do One Take Podcast.
Do you want to give out the address? Do we have a P.O. box, do we?
I'm not giving out my address.
We should make a P.O. box so people can send us any gifts and we'll open them up live.
to go into the bunker.
Oh, yes. Oh, we only do one take podcast bunker. Jesus Christ, that would be just full of dildos.
Oh, dear.
Oh.
Anyway. So yes, would you? Was there anything else on the missile thing? I sort of overtook you on that.
Would you build a bunker? That's my thing. Would you like if I had the space? I probably would, but it'd probably just be a recording studio and with lots of fridges of beer.
It would be a basement, and I'd just get drunk in it.
Yeah,
That's what it would be.
yeah.
And then if we needed to use it, it would be great because I'd be like, well, there's lots of alcohol down here.
Yeah.
And when the alcohol comes out, we're either going up there and going to die or
We die of dehydration because we've just been drinking alcohol
Yeah.
for the last 3 days.
that's it. Actually,
See, I couldn't do that because I don't need
if
a
we
kebab.
if we had our own bunker, we
Yeah.
could do a non-stop podcast
Yeah.
on the emergency situation
Yeah.
that we would know nothing about because we would be in a bunker.
Yeah. So what's the
So
point?
it's just all speculation all the time. What you're saying
I
is
can make
this
it-
podcast could quickly become CNN in the event of an apocalypse.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to tell everybody fake news 100% of the time. I'll just be making up headlines. This would be fantastic.
Right, make up a headline right now.
Man kills dog because it eats his fries. That probably really happened.
Probably.
I want to say
Florida man.
France has just elected the ghost of Michael Jackson as their prime minister.
Ooh.
That's pretty good. See, I would elect him.
I think in the post-apocalypse, I think something like that could be
Well, we got-
very easily possible.
well,
Democracy would be on
We've
its
got the
head.
holograms going. That's something. We've got the
think so.
hologram of Michael Jackson. Tupac, they've got the hologram of him. You seen that?
That's right.
They do. And they've got one of Dio coming around for Ronnie James Dio, and they're going to tour with him. So this is reality, people. We're through the looking glass.
All right. Before we finish up,
Yeah.
all right, I wanted to get back to something because I know Mash travelled around the world, did
Yep.
some world travel, right? But probably some places that I would never go to as well. So I'm interested to hear about your travel because from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, you quit your job.
Yep.
You're like, I'm out of here.
Correct.
Yep. And you got on a plane. Maybe. Or I don't know. Maybe,
Yeah.
Maybe you stayed at home for a bit.
I did stay at home for a bit, but then eventually I did get on a plane.
Fair enough, but you quit your job and you're like, I'm out of here. And you were gone for how long?
2 months.
2 months. Tell me what happened in that 2 months. Because that 2 months seems to inspire your rap.
Very much so. It was an incredible time. The day I handed in my letter of resignation, I applied to a 10-day long Vipassana meditation course, and that was basically going to kickstart a really deep level of introspection that I had not encountered before. I'd spent a lot of my teen years being someone who I think, like all of us, just second guesses everything he does, has an inner monologue going on that, you know, is in no way helpful and probably full of a lot of self-doubt. And instead, this trip ended up being a fantastic time because for 10 days straight, I was in a meditative regime. It was like boot camp for the soul, and it was an incredible time. I'd recommend it to absolutely anyone. If you find yourself with 10 days to spare.
Because I would be really worried. I'd be like, what am I going to do? It's now an hour into the meditation.
Yep.
I've got 9 3/4 of a day left, plus a few more hours. And when am I going to eat next? That's what I would be worried about. When am I going to eat next?
Yep. So the beauty of it
You
is
and food, mate.
Look, and those thoughts come to you. I mean, I can go into a lot of depth about the way that it's structured, but it is more or less structured the same as it has been for centuries now. Their claim is that the Buddha himself, Siddhartha Goma Siddhartha, he devised or rediscovered this method some 2,500 years ago, and then has been teaching it, taught it for the rest of his life, and then his students ardently continued on that process and that teaching because they believe that it's what leads to nirvana, the eternal salvation that lies at the heart of Buddhism. Now, I didn't go in there and emerge a beam and a ball of amazing energy and light, but I definitely did feel lighter in terms of my soul and in terms of my thinking and focus. Now, compounding that. Oh yeah,
because very interesting. Not that I've done it, and I understand subjective experiences. My research is on subjective well-being, right?
Yep.
So I understand subjectiveness, which is really interesting because I look at it from a research point of view, which is not necessarily subjective. It's data-driven.
Yep.
But Buddhists, right, or those that claim to be Buddhists have lower levels of subjective well-being than the typical Australian or American, and I find that really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And being in Burma and watching the Buddhists, right? Mind you, they only had like 2 meals a day, which I'm out. No way would that.
Yeah.
No way would that be me, right?
Yeah, you need 3 cheese meals a day on top of a regular day.
Sorry, did you say meals or wheels?
Bit of both. Wheels of cheese.
No, and I was watching this Buddhist, right? And I could at one level, not that I've done it, at one level I could understand them, but at another level I was like, I don't think I could do this. Now I'm coming from a person who hasn't done this meditation or hasn't attempted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm just being one of those selfish, critical, people that when this podcast ends, probably going to drink a few more and then going to go to bed and wake up and do my whole routine.
And it's a healthy level of skepticism, I think, that one needs to approach life with. Sorry. Yeah.
So I find so it's it's interesting. So but you were saying everyone should do this.
Absolutely. I think in terms of subjective well-being, I think one of the key ideas at the heart of meditation, at the heart of Vipassana and Buddhism, is to say that the level of expectation and craving and desire that we sort of seem to carry around with us every day is actually as harmful as negative subjective hurt that we might feel, a physical pain that we might feel. The idea that I like cheese when it's there in front of me and I want to keep eating it is actually as harmful, because later on when I don't have access to said cheese, I'll feel crummy about it and I'll actually go into a state of feeling bad because of a thing that I used to feel good about. And so
you use crackers because it would have been funny because you could say crummy, but it doesn't matter. Jokes in hindsight, people.
So he's talking about cheese and I'm staring at it.
I know, this guy.
I'm going,
have at it, mate.
oh my God.
Kieran's porn search was just a girl eating cheese.
Rick and Morty
Rick
plus
and-
cheese.
yeah.
Oh, cheese. So
I'll update you next week.
it's going to be up
9
there in
minutes,
2018.
59
searches.
seconds.
Just under the 10-minute mark. So I would say to the idea of that survey, that subjective well-being thing, I would actually just say it's purely because the ardent, the continuous meditator probably has a lower threshold for what they deem to be contentedness and happiness and well-being. In terms of what you're describing, though, people who act out violence and claim to be of a certain faith or a certain custom, I think we've seen enough of that kind of generalization in the world to know that unfortunately is born out of totally different circumstances. And we've got Buddhists and we've got Muslims and we've got Christians and Jews and Jedi all around the world who self-proclaim, and they act in different ways. And the human condition is about variety, even within a certain custom, even within a certain sect. Take Mormonism, for example. Take people that were a part of the Jonestown experiment. No matter how small a scale you want to take a cult, religion, creed, faith on, or how large you want to make it, you'll still get a variety of human experience in that. What meditation taught me especially, and again, coming back to that subjective experience, and what I think everyone can benefit from learning is that in every moment, any number of thoughts can fly through your head. Any number of feelings, desires, cravings, aversions can flow through your body. And when you take the time to meditate and sharpen your focus through 10 days of meditation boot camp, and I'll keep using that term boot camp to describe it because that's how it works. You wake up at 4:30 in the morning, you meditate. Yeah. And I shit you not, until 9:30 p.m. at night.
I mean, anything before 11, count me out. Like,
yeah.
Unless it's lunch.
So it is very much a very strict regime. Of the 17 hours or so that you're awake, 13 of them are spent in like scheduled meditation. So it's very much a boot camp experience. But what gets gained from that, the same way that a fitness boot camp will engender strength in certain muscles and muscle groups and discipline and routine, the same thing happens, but you're exercising the soul, the spirit, the mind. and you're gaining mastery over the mind, so that now when instead of 1,000 thoughts, when one single thought pops up, you're aware of that thought and you can actually act upon that or even choose not to act upon it. And once you have that closer examination of self, of desire, of craving, of aversion, that's when you can continue to be a better person, whatever your schema of better person is in the world that we live in. So people that go out of their way to bring about hurt and harm upon other people because they're somehow different, that doesn't strike me to be at the core of the message of any teaching. I can't imagine that philosophy living on for longer than 2 or 3 generations. The idea that they're different, therefore we must kill them. I guarantee you're going to get killed if that's how you live.
But question, do you think you need to have, would you have that perspective if you didn't do the meditation?
I had some semblance of that perspective. I think going into it, I was happy to espouse the view that everyone should be loved and all humans are equal and the things that we hold to be universally true. You know, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is built upon codifying and writing down in plain 6 languages of the world, here's what we believe as a collective human race at the international level. We haven't had a document like that ever in human existence. And now we have this document that says this is what we believe. Those are the kinds of views that I definitely held dear, but it's about enacting them in my day-to-day life. And then what will happen is I'll be on...
Because it's an interesting perspective from a psych point of view, right? I'm just going to say from a every day, I'm not talking about people on extreme ends of whatever the spectrum you're talking about, but we do discriminate. Like, we do make active discriminations, and we do view the world, especially if you're not depressed, you are going to live in an illused world. You're not going to view the world clearly.
Yep.
That's just that's just the way that it is.
Yep.
And are you saying that do you feel that by doing this meditation that you break through those barriers, like those lenses or those perspectives, or?
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. You become aware of that illusion on more than an intellectual level. So let's say as a listener of this podcast, you've never experienced that truth, that idea before. And hearing Kieran describe it as an illusion, that's your first inkling that, perhaps, there's something more to the fact that I don't like a certain group of people, or I don't like a certain type of music. Listen to my rap music. You may have a deep set.
Actually, that brings me to an important point. Why didn't you make it country and western? Everyone loves country and western.
Debatable. And debatable because
Kieran,
I don't
let the musicians talk about music.
I would say it's about meditation brings that to a much more experiential level. You feel that in your body, in every iota of your being, as you sit and you meditate, and you feel the fact that the only truth is that I am here right now in this present moment. And when I started that sentence, the person I was then is no longer relevant. And that's at the core of anicca, of impermanence, the idea that everything at all times is changing. And to accept that truth allows you to totally disavow, to divorce yourself from other ideas that you seem to hold to be true. And I can't do that on a permanent day-to-day basis, moment-to-moment basis, because my meditation isn't strong enough. And I can hold on to that truth enough to say that, all right, sometimes I'll get angry, or sometimes the person who sits next to me on the train who smells a little bit funny makes me kind of hate them a little bit. But I have to realize that that's a truth that's only real to me. The fact that they smell isn't an issue. It's the fact that I have an aversion to them smelling. And then I can choose to act on that. I can curse that person out, and I can say, why don't you go get a shower? And I can cause negativity and hurt to come about to that person and then come about in the world. Or I can choose to act out of love and be like, hey, what's going on? And like try to spark up a conversation and see what happens. Or I can choose to do nothing and just kind of sit with those feelings and thoughts. And then, oh, look, there's my stop, and let's move on with life. So meditation allowed me to center my thinking, to realize where my impulses and where my immediate thoughts might first come from, recognize them for what they are, and then choose to act. The idea is about choosing to act in a way that you feel is proper for the world that you want to help create. So that's what meditation allowed me to do, and I'm really glad you asked me about my troubles.
And psychologists tried to do that in 6 sessions.
We tried. So I'm interested in the other side of the outcome, of this whole meditation process and the traveling and this and that, and how that had affected what you were doing different with your music before this experience, and how this changed the way that you were thinking about music, your lyricism, your writing, what was the transition and what was the change and what was the realignment of the focus before and after, and why you decided this is exactly what I want to do, and how did that experience amplify that or make that into something more personal or better in your eyes
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked. It's something that I've thought a lot about because it's something that more or less happened. Going into the experience, I was very much afraid of what might happen. I saw it as being some kind of a surgery, borderline. I was going to come out lobotomized. Literally, my biggest fear was that I might become boring as a result of this. And maybe I have. I don't know. I really like who I am now. What happened was I spoke to a friend who'd spent time actually incarcerated. And he sort of allayed my fears a little bit. He kind of said, look, this is going to be one of the greatest things you're ever going to do, because there's nothing like time alone to help you discover what you actually care about, what you actually feel about things. And he said to me that in the time that he was locked up, by his 4th day, he knew exactly what he valued in life and what he wanted to do the moment he got out. All he could do was look forward to getting out. Going into the experience, I was ready to experiment with anything. I was like, life can be any single thing it can be. And that was, I guess, the positivity, also air quotes, positivity that I viewed the world through. And I said, I can be anything I want. I can do anything I want. And then went about doing every single thing without any sense of purpose or direction. And by about day 3 of the meditation retreat, so 10 days, by about day 3, I had just sort of cleared out just a bunch of that bullshit. I had mental images of, say, a katana that I bought at one point, because I was like, I'm totally going to get into ancient Japanese culture. And I had an idea of that sitting in my room collecting dust, and I went, that's such bullshit, that I told myself at one point to distract myself from the idea that I don't know what I'm doing. And by day 5, I was like, okay, now I know what I really care about. I care about, loving the people around me. I care about, getting somewhere in life and getting somewhere where I can be a family man and contribute to a general amount of lovingness in the world. I care about my personal health. I care about my fitness. And I care about my faith, actually. That came back to me pretty heavily. I was born a Muslim, and I feel like I strayed away for some time. And through this meditation practice, I actually came to rediscover that what I believed in to do with the universe, the words and the actions and the rituals had already been given to me and been taught to me at an earlier stage. And I could just re-espouse the two together and come back to it. So in terms of what I wanted to do in life, that's what became abundantly clear by about day 7 or day 8, when just sitting there, an idea for a song just came like a freight train into my head. First it was a sample from a song, then there was a beat to go with it, and it wasn't even something super easy, like toe-tappingly radio-friendly kind of thing. It was in 3/4 time. It was, it was all over the place. The sample required to be pitched up. And I know all of these things about the complexity of it now, months later, that I've sat down onto Ableton to try and make this song and go, oh my God, I've still got that idea still fresh in my head as if I'm coming up with it now. And here I am trying to execute and my body can't keep up. And over literally hours slaving away at the computer, I finally managed to get some approximation of that song. But the fact that it came so clearly and the theme was there, the lyrics were there. I have lyrics written down, etched into my brain that I haven't bothered writing down anywhere because I still know them. And when the time is right to make that the music, that's what will happen. So that's where that sense of focus came. And experiencing that, and it is about experiencing that personally made me go, this is what I want to do. And this is, now that I've got this focus, now that I've got energy, now that I like waking up at 4 a.m, this is what I want to do once I'm awake. And that is where that sense of focus and motivation came from. If I had been entertaining an idea of pursuing a different hobby, perhaps that's what might have come into my head. But the fact, I kind of was telling you before, that the reason I got into music now was because as a kid, that's all I cared about. I wanted to chuck on my headphones. When I got my first Sony Walkman at age 8 or 9. First thing I did was, Dad, how do I burn CDs? How do I make new CDs for this? I like this Michael Jackson song, and I like this John Mayer song, and I like this, and I like this, and Eric Clapton. And I wanted to just put them all on the same CD and listen to them everywhere I went. All I cared about was music. And now finally, nearly 20 years later, it's coming full circle, and it's a fire that exists in my heart, and all I can do is produce music. All I can do is make new stuff. And that's thanks to the idea of meditation and thanks to rediscovering who I am and knowing that on an experiential level.
And what's exciting about music, talking about the person who knows nothing about music in this room.
So I was going to have a bit of a chat about music now, but that's all right.
No. But it's you. I mean, when I listen to music, I'm in another world.
Yeah.
Like when you really listen to music and you really go like, I mean, there's artists that I go, I don't care about that, whatever. But then you listen to songs and you're just like, I dig it, and I'm in another. I want to say another world.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I want to say, I actually feel like I'm experiencing, like I'm more tapped into myself, and I think that's really exciting for you because you're creating music, and hopefully, I mean, I think it shouldn't be about it is essentially there's a part of it that's about the listener.
Yep.
But it's more about you and expressing yourself, and if you do that to the best of your ability, then I think the listeners will come.
So it's really interesting you were talking about motivation and experiencing in this now, because I come from a different world of music, because I started off as a classical musician. So coming from that world, So I used to, as a classical guitarist, I used to play all the Bach and the etudes and and all that really fun stuff for, But I was like 10 at the time because I started at a very young age, and then it was only until I started to move into modern guitar work where I was playing Santana or Led Zeppelin.
Classical gas.
I used to. You push me now. I can probably whip it out. But I think when it comes to writing music, now I'm more of a progressive rock artist.
By the way, I want to say that theme music at the start.
Oh,
of the
thank you.
podcast.
Oh, that was wicked. That was so good.
Thank you. That was literally today me running around at work, writing it down, and going home and going, I think I can do this before the podcast starts. So thank you very much. It'll be up on SoundCloud at some point when I finish off the guitar solo on that. There's probably going to be another riff in there, but when it comes to writing music for me, like you said before, it's about it'll probably just come to you, and I guess maybe it's different with rap or as a vocalist than it is for a guitarist or a person playing an instrument, where a lot of it just comes from me. I'll just be playing some other song, or I'll be playing some just trying to write riffs or do something like that, and then it just sort of all falls into place. And it's almost you get to a stage when you're playing you're playing a guitar solo for me, or you're practicing, and something just that magic happens. You go from one stage of playing, and it might be 1 minute in, it might be 3 hours into your playing, whatever it is, and suddenly out of nowhere there's just this one thing that you do, or one piece of magic that you do, and suddenly that's all you can think about for months.
Yep.
And I think Frank Zappa's probably my favorite artist when he talks about this sort of stuff, and he talks about guitar solos, and he goes, what you're trying to do is you're trying to play the perfect note for the perfect time.
Yep. All
the time. And it's for me, I didn't understand that when I was younger, because I'm like, oh, you just do whatever you want, and it's the expressions that. But you're right. What you're trying to do is you're trying to find that magic moment, not only for you, the guitarist, and the way the guitar resonates, and how it affects your body, and how it affects the amplifier, and how it affects the audience, and how it affects the sound that's coming out of the speakers, and how that's going to react to the person listening to it, whether they're sitting in front of you and you're playing it live to them, or they're sitting, with a bunch of headphones on a train next to that smelly guy, and all you can really smell is that smelly guy. What you want to be able to do is with whatever note, whatever sound, whatever signal, whatever lyric that you're putting towards putting on paper, or putting towards that piece of music that you're writing, you want to transcend that person as well as yourself, obviously, but that person into that next stage of being part of the music, feeling that they're just as much as part of the music as you sitting there writing the song. And that's really important. And I still feel that to this day. I'll sit at work I'll listen to a guitar solo by someone, or an instrumental, or a vocalist singing, and it's suddenly like, oh my god, this is all I want to do. I just want to go home and play guitar. But in the same sense, that's my motivation, I guess, because this is not my full-time job. My full-time job is doing projects for the government, and as much as I love that, because it's one part of my mind that I love doing, I think the break, and that's one of the reasons why I didn't go and study music at a university level, but allowing myself to have small, short bursts of inspiration, love, passion, really makes me a better person, because I want to do that, and I have that outlet that not many other people have the privilege of having, especially at the level that I can communicate my music via dots on paper and pass it off to a mate of mine, and he'll be able to play it as well and experience what I've put on paper. And it's such an amazing feeling. And again, I haven't done the meditation course or anything like that. It's more of something that I've sort of developed internally because of the music I've played over time. Yeah, it's just, I guess, it's just a different perspective of it. So it's interesting seeing what you've done with your rap music and the way that you compose and put things together compared to what I've done, I guess, coming from a classical background and coming from formal education of music. And it's so many similar things. Like, we're trying to reach that point of there are no limits between the music, the artist, the audience, the listener, wherever they are. It's about putting them into a different mindset when that music is being played.
Well, my question to Mash is, what is the point of your rap?
The point of my rap is that this is something moving through me here now. That's the reality of my situation. And part of me is aware that tomorrow I could wake up with zero motivation to so much as get out of bed or pray or go for a walk or write music. And I have to be okay with that being an impending future at some point. I mean, it might be when I'm 86 years old that happens, but at some point that might happen. But the point of my rap is that here now, the reality is that this is something moving through me, and it's lighting a fire in my body that all I can do to keep sane, to feel as good and useful and productive as I do each day, is to put that music out there. So the point of my rap at this point in time is actually super selfish. It's purely all I want to do is make music. So I'm going to keep making music. And as I keep making music, I continue to learn more about myself, and I continue to learn more about the things that seem to be bouncing around the back of my head. I'm not going to lie. A lot of the music I've written down and a lot of the lyrics I try to write, or if I try it in freestyle, for example, which I'm very bad at, but if I do try, it tends to revolve around pretty base kind of ideas, and it tends to be very adversarial. It tends to be very sexually driven. It tends to be very drug related sometimes.
Freud would love you.
Oh, massively, right? And it makes me question, where's that coming from? Is that coming from just because that's all the music I've been listening to for a long period of time? Or is that underlying desires or fears or whatever? Like,
well, that's what Freud would say, underlying desires.
Right?
Going on from what I do, I mean, some days I can listen to 80s hair metal all day, and suddenly I can go home and just rip out 80s hair metal riffs, like 20 of them. And the next day I hate them all because suddenly I'm in a progressive rock mood and I just want to hear, melodies in 7/8 time signatures and then 9/8 time signatures, and just I want something so odd it's stupid. Or then I listen to King Crimson and I want to hear 2 time signatures happening at the same time in 2 different keys, make sure that they actually sync up at the 40-second beat. But for me, that's the experience that I can have. And I guess going on that next level, some people listen to an audiobook and read the book at the same time, and it's that experience that some people don't enjoy. But I can do that with music, and I can read a piece of sheet music, read it as it's played, and I can understand it on a deeper level. It's something that puts your mind at ease when when people go, "Oh, I sleep to music," or "I listen to music to calm down." For me, there is that aspect of it too. But for me, it's almost like this what engages my brain to want to do more work, because that's what fires me up. Even it can be something slow, a ballad, it can do this and that. But if I'm listening to it intently enough, I can go, it's doing this and it's this chord progression. I understand why it works in this way. And suddenly my brain's got a million ideas because how can I do something with that? And sometimes that translates to spreadsheets at work, but sometimes it translates to, me playing soccer on a soccer pitch, or sometimes it translates to what I'm doing at the podcast.
Well, that's
that magic that happens within your mind when you listen or read music or do something like that.
And see, I think that magic that you've used to describe it, I think that's perfect, because that's actually like the quintessential thing that humans have over every other species in the world. It's what's got us to here today. How many times have you sat around bored out of your minds, drunk out of your minds? It doesn't matter. And something just occurs to you, and you get up and you move a chair and you put a salt shaker on top of the chair, and you call it something, and that's the thing that came into your head, and you don't know why, but you just acted on it.
I made a seat out of empty cans.
Because you could, to pass the time. It occurred to you, and you followed through on it, right?
And I glued it together, and it fell apart. But I was quite impressed of my seat can.
Yeah,
massively. And tens
I called it
of
the can.
Thousands, hundreds. Let's go.
Oh, jeez. There's some inspiration for you.
Before
toilet humor.
Before we wrap up, I've got a few other things I want to interested to hear from you, Mash. So you went on this 10-day meditation, and then you continued to travel, and I believe you went to, was it Saudi Arabia?
That's right.
Saudi Arabia and Pakistan.
That's right.
And was the Bangladesh in there?
Dubai in there as well.
Oh, sorry, Dubai.
And the Philippines before those Middle Eastern countries.
Okay, so Philippines is interesting because of the president that they have at the moment.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia is interesting because it's Saudi Arabia.
Always.
And Dubai.
Yeah.
I heard
Sorry,
there's
was it
lots of
Pakistan?
princes there.
Pakistan's plenty interesting.
Pakistan's interesting, yeah, and Saudi Arabia's interesting, and yeah, go for
I'll give you a quick rundown. So I was in the Philippines, and the first day I arrived, that was just off the back of my meditation retreat. I was hanging out with my Aussie mate, who I haven't seen in forever, and Harry, if you're listening, I love you, mate. As soon as we met up, put my bags down at his accommodation, let's go get a beer. Now, the very antithesis of meditation and what I didn't think would happen, but then that becomes that. The next day is day drinking with his Filipino mates, and that was interesting because there we are getting drunk and being friends and getting to know each other. And at one point, I was about to make a flippant comment about Duterte, about the president, and then kind of something in the back of my head told me, hey, hang on, slow that one down a little bit, and turned it around into, okay, so what do you guys think of Duterte? And at this point, Harry still shot me a look, and he was like, watch what you do here. So around the table they went. Some guys kind of were a little bit shy and nervous. The oldest of the group was actually wearing a wristband that was pro-Duterte. I didn't realize, but he was. And apparently anyone wearing that wristband, you should know, is a Duterte fan, to say the least. He was very quick to be like, I think Duterte is a great president.
Can we get our own bands for the We Only Do One Take podcast?
You're the one going to Vietnam.
All right, I'll do that. Sorry.
So I think he started to explain that as far as they were concerned in this rural village that we were living in, as far as they were concerned, Duterte is fantastic because of him, crime has gone down. Because of him, education has gone up because he cares a lot about education.
He does. It's amazing.
Because of him, a lot of sort of social services have gone up, and it's not like he's very socially oppressive. It's just that we on the outside in the West have been reported to constantly that he is a criminal. He's a former warlord. He's someone who has ordered the executions of countless people, extrajudicial killings, mind you, not through the criminal justice system, but simply that guy's a drug dealer, killer.
Yeah. And a lot of the news that I've heard about him is the fact that he's gone, that person's a drug dealer. If you're dealing drugs, I will kill you.
Yep.
Like, not like we will kill you as a society. No, I will get my gun and shoot you. And I'm like, I mean, very extreme, but you got to admire the balls on that guy.
There's a certain vigilantism, and he's got the power to do it. He's more or less just an open to the public kind of Batman type figure who just says, I'm here to make my country better. I know exactly how it needs to be done. We take out the drugs. We increase spending for education. And he just goes out and does it. He doesn't care. And he's very open-faced about it. But, of course, in the West, that's not generally the type of politics we play. We don't really like that. So, of course, what we get reported to is that this is a man with this dark and shady past, and he's doing deals with these communists and these blah, 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 and you stir up fears. So it was a really interesting conversation. It was really eye-opening for me to hear from the layman, very much the layman in rural Philippines.
Because you're in the Philippines.
Yep.
Meanwhile, while we're being reported that there's also a war going on, that there's fighting
Between rebel groups,
between
right?
rebel groups, and that it's dangerous to go to.
In certain areas. And in fact, probably within about 50 to 70 kilometers of where we were was an area that you just shouldn't go, especially if you're a foreigner. Rebels will sort of kidnap people, and there's a liberation army. And as much as that individual that was pro Duterte would, espouse the merits of Duterte and his policies, I still met people that thought Duterte is more or less of a criminal that they've somehow elected. So, of course, two sides to every single coin. And, of course, the people who were pro-democracy, pro-liberation, there was more or less of a people's liberation army, not quite the Chinese one, but they saw themselves as that, and that they were out to free people from under the oppressive grip of Duterte and his policies. So, yes, there are, but it's so small scale that it was actually kind of a laughing matter. They were like, oh, you might get kidnapped for a couple of days. And then when they realize like they can't contact your family or anything for a ransom, they'll probably just let you go. Because it's actually more trouble for them to kill you than to like just let you go.
Like, you got to bury your body. You've
Yeah.
got a car. You got a small car. You can't fit the body in the boot. What are
and
you
you
gonna do?
And you got to dig a hole.
Yeah. Plus, a foreigner's murder on their hands
holes
is
are-
not great either. But
Yeah.
but it was that kind of thing. So again, kind of blowing it out of proportion to score some political points. Obviously, at the time, there was a lot of contention around who people support, which regimes and stuff like that. So that was a really cool experience. But again, off the back of meditation, probably the most powerful experience I then had was to go and complete pilgrimage in Mecca. And when I say pilgrimage, there's Hajj, which happens at a certain time of year, and that's at the end of Ramadan. And then there's Umrah, which happens any other time, and it's more or less like a voluntary off-season Hajj.
'Cause,
I guess is-
maybe I'm wrong, but every Muslim must at one point go there, to Mecca at once in their life, unless they can't afford it or like there's some stipulations.
That's
Basically,
right.
Everyone has to go.
Yeah, exactly right. Every Muslim, it's one
and
of
this is really interesting, right? Because it's no shock to
It's
the
like
nine.
Italians going to the Vatican.
It's no shock to the 9 listeners that I'm not a fan of religion, right?
Yep.
I am, but I'm only for the art.
But mind you,
Such
I
good
went a few years ago, 2 years ago. I went to what's it, the end of Ramadan, Eid.
Yes.
And
the food.
I am once again a fan of celebrating all cultures
Mm-hmm. Especially through food.
and all
Yeah.
religions, especially through food, because food brings us together. And
It does.
oh my god, I think I woke up in heaven that night. That was just amazing. Anyway, to all the listeners, I will go to Eid. Just saying.
Inshallah.
Send us a letter.
No,
and
no.
like,
So interesting. So Saudi Arabia is something I know nothing about. All I know is that women can't drive cars. That two female pilots flew.
And a robot is now legally a citizen, has more rights than most women.
I think we talked about that.
We did talk
Yeah.
about that.
And females can land planes in Saudi Arabia, then they can't drive the car. That's all I know.
Yeah.
So interesting. So you went to Mecca.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was an incredible time. It was me getting back in touch with my faith. As I said before, it's something that I grew up with. It was something that I was more or less in the same way any young person that grows up in a religious household is told, these are the things that we do. Not, this is an answer to that deep existential question that you have, or that you may have, or that you may develop over the next 3 years of cognitive development. It's simply, this is how we pray. These are the words you say. This is what you say before we eat. This is what you say when you're done eating. This is how you greet your elders. When it's quite ritualized like that without much explanation, it was something that made me quite cynical. I was kind of like, all right, well, this is a control system. This is, the more I would read Western philosophy and everything, I would say, oh, of course, I'm being oppressed. And what I found by going to Mecca, by being in that place that was so holy, I was surrounded by literally tens of thousands of people doing the exact same thing as me. It was so equal. I was there dressed in plain white garb, as is the man next to me, as is the other man next to me, as is this old person, this young woman who might have been 15 years old, separated from her mother, crying, but then taking solace in the fact that she's literally got a hand on the house of God. Like the figurative, like you have to say figurative, but as far as Muslims are concerned, that black cube in the middle of Mecca is the house of God on earth. And when you're there, you can't help but feel love and joy and such a relief to get to be in that place. And that, at least that was what I took away from it. I saw people that were acting less than holy in trying to touch a certain place. There's stations of, kind of like the stations of the cross in the pilgrimage for Jesus and all. There's certain stations dotted throughout the Kaaba where some people were absolutely overcome with religious zeal to try and touch a certain thing or kiss a certain thing. And that blew my mind, that you're literally standing at the house of God acting in such a way. But for me, what I took away from it was actual power, to actually feel like, wow, I can be in this place and I can take as long as I want. I can ask God for anything I want. I can have such a sense of connection to the universe, the creative force, the source of what lies at the core of all existence, within and without existence, the meeting point of everything and nothing. I was in contact with that. And as long as I believed that allowed me to feel power. So I continue to believe that, and I continue to feel powerful, and I continue to feel like I can have an infinite well of love in my heart to give to other people, and to power myself on a day-to-day basis, and to feel the sense of self-worth required to get up and get out of bed and beat the depression that kicked my ass last year and the year before that and the year before that. And to have it so quickly impact my perspective, that I have to believe that something else is at play there. So that's the experience that I had of it, is to be in that place that's so set up, so ritualized in one way, gave me so much freedom and liberty to express and to explore the depths of my mind, the depths of my soul. And then what I came up with in terms of answers were just love. Like, all you need is love. Like, go out into the world and you send it out and you get it back tenfold. Like, nothing else works that way in this world. So there has to be something to the fact that when I listen to a certain piece of music or pray a certain way or breathe in a meditation a certain way, and I feel those vibrations and shivers and things that happen when, Kieran, you described you go to another world when you listen to a certain song, when you're caught in the right moment, the right note played at the right time, something happens, something moves within you. And some people call that God. Some people call that music. Some people call that the firing of a certain receptor in the brain to trigger a certain hormone. I don't mind what you want to call it. I don't mind what it is to you. But to me, that's going to Mecca, having that meditative experience. That's where I found that sense of purpose for myself, to come back and to do what I now do every day.
See, very interesting from my perspective, right? I would say spiritual experience, right? Spiritual experience. Is it something that you think, me being a non-Muslim, right? Right. I'm not going to go to Mecca and I'm not going to do that. But is it something that you think that should happen, or do you think that people should have that in other forms, or like it's interesting to hear your perspective, right? Because it's something that I know very little about. But at the same time, I sort of go, yeah, but I've got my own. Like, I've got my own things that I do, or my own new rituals and my own things, and I'm quite happy in my my non-religious, my non-belief, my skeptical world, if that makes sense.
Yep. Not every person in the world should have to go to Mecca. Based on my experience, I would say that not every person needs to have a pilgrimage or a deeply profound, intense, ritualized, structured program to achieve a degree of peace and personal honesty and personal growth the way that I did. I think that each and every person's experience is going to be very different. I think if I compare my experience to that of my younger brother, who was there on the exact same trip to Mecca, he wasn't there for the meditation. He came away with, I don't know, to hear him tell it. It was an experience for him. It was an intellectual exercise, and he got some value out of it, and he appreciates it for what it was. But I've yet to hear him kind of babble on the way I have sort of talked your ears off about my experience of it when he describes it for himself. So I would say that every person comes to each experience with a certain degree of readiness in their life. What was integral for me was being open to the idea that this could change me. And then being open to the idea that any experience can change a person, and being open to that degree of change and fluctuation in identity and being and in spirituality and comfort and confidence. Once you have that readiness, then you can open yourself up to a deeply profound spiritual experience or an intellectual awakening, a new mode of thought that powers you. So don't lose any sleep over the fact that you'll never go to Mecca and have an experience like the one that I've described, because the one that I've described might not necessarily be the experience that you want in your life. It might not be something that you feel fits into your scheme of who you want to be one day. So you actually, there was a time when I would have said, oh, that doesn't sound good to me. What, you get up and you do the same prayer every morning and then you go and do the same walk and then blah, blah, blah. And that sounds boring. And I think maybe one of my biggest, deepest wishes of what could have happened from meditation unfortunately came true. I did become more boring compared to my past self, but I really love who I am now. And I say that with such confidence. Like I love myself in a way that I never have before. And every day I just do things that make me love me more so that I can go about loving the world that we live in more, that I can go about putting more of myself and of what this existence is back into existence.
Very interesting.
I think that on that note.
Oh, I've got one thing.
You got one?
I've got one thing.
Come on, mate. We'll be here for 2 hours.
I know.
Everyone needs to go.
Turch has got his eyes, he's got bags under his eyes, he's got work.
I'm just looking at it going, I'm going to edit this. Thinking, God damn, do you know how long this takes? Every minute that's there, it takes me a minute and a half to edit.
You'll like this. I thought let's finish on a quick article. A very quick article. Just you'll appreciate this. What's the weirdest thing you do in the shower, Turch?
I think Turch is really just dismissing the value of this segment so that he can just blanket delete it.
Mash, it's been great having you on.
It's been an absolute pleasure
Thank you
being
very
here.
much.
Thank you for entertaining my wacky delusional thoughts about existence and music, but it's been an absolute pleasure.
That's a good, and thank you to our listeners if you're still listening.
God bless you.
That's it. And
Mash, just give us another plug of all your stuff where we can find it.
So my music can be found on Facebook, facebook.com/Emkew. That's spelled EMKEW. And there's a new single that'll be out at the top of the page. And that's the #1 place to get it.
Excellent. And of course, you can find the We Only Do One Take podcast on SoundCloud, iTunes, and we'll be posting this up on Facebook for ease and access and availability, which should be on your phone all the time.
that's it.
Kieran, thank you so much for another long, fantastic episode.
That's all right.
With hours and hours for me to edit. And
I'll see you next Tuesday.
We'll see you next Tuesday.
That's it.